I'm glad my brother's business failed because it was built on a lie he told our dying father. Dad got diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer in March. The doctors gave him maybe 6 months. My brother Kyle showed up at the hospital 3 days later with this whole pitch about opening a restaurant. He'd been talking about it for years but never had the money. Dad was on so many painkillers he could barely focus, but Kyle just kept going on and on about his dream. Then Kyle said he needed $80,000 to make it happen. He told Dad the restaurant would be called Joe's Place after him. Said he'd put Dad's famous meatball recipe on the menu. Said it would be a legacy for the whole family. Dad was crying by the end of it. He wrote Kyle a check for the full amount right there in the hospital room. I was standing in the corner the whole time watching this happen. I wanted to say something, but Dad looked so happy. It was the first time I'd seen him smile since the diagnosis. Dad died in July. Kyle's restaurant opened in September. I went to the opening night because Mom forced me to. The place was called Ember Lounge. No meatballs on the menu. Not a single one. It was all fancy, small plates and cocktails that cost $17. There wasn't a single thing about Dad anywhere. No photos. No dedication. Nothing. I asked Kyle about it in the parking lot after. He just shrugged and said the meatball thing wouldn't work with the concept. Said the investors wanted something more upscale. I asked what investors. He said he'd brought in 3 other people who each put in money. Turns out Dad's $80,000 was only part of it. That's when I realized Kyle had lied about the whole thing. He just wanted Dad's money to fund his own dream restaurant, the one he actually wanted to open. I didn't tell Mom right away. She was still grieving, and I didn't want to make it worse. But I watched that restaurant. I drove by it every week. The place struggled from day one. The food was overpriced and the portions were tiny. People kept leaving reviews saying they left hungry. By November, they were doing happy hour specials just to get people in the door. By February, they were closed on Mondays and Tuesdays. By April, there was a for lease sign in the window. Kyle called me last week. First time we'd talked since the opening. He said he was filing for bankruptcy. Said he lost everything, including the money Dad gave him. Said he needed to borrow $5,000 to cover his rent. I asked him if he remembered what he told Dad in the hospital. He got quiet. Then he asked what I meant. I said Dad died thinking Kyle was going to honor him with that restaurant. Kyle said things changed and I wouldn't understand business decisions. I told Kyle I wasn't giving him anything. He started yelling about family and how I was his sister and I should help him. I hung up. He called back 6 times. I blocked his number. Mom found out about everything 3 days ago. One of her friends saw the bankruptcy filing in the public records. Mom called me crying, asking if I knew. I told her I'd known since opening night. She asked why I didn't say anything. I said I wanted to watch it fall apart on its own. Now Mom wants me to talk to Kyle. She says he's struggling and he made a mistake, but he's still family. She keeps saying Dad would want us to forgive him. I told her Dad would want Kyle to have actually built the restaurant he promised. Mom said I'm being cruel. Said I should have more compassion. But here's the thing. Kyle's meeting with some new potential investor tomorrow. Some guy who apparently helps restart failed businesses. Kyle's trying to pitch him on a brunch concept. Apparently that's trendy now. I found out because I went to his apartment again last night after he didn't answer my calls all week. Used the spare key Mom gave me for emergencies. I was looking for more evidence of his lies when I found pill bottles in his bathroom. Percocet, OxyContin, all prescribed in the last 3 months. Way more than someone should have. Then I found the hospital bills hidden in his closet. Stage 3, lymphoma. He was diagnosed in December, right after Ember Lounge started failing. He's been in treatment this whole time and never told anyone. The medical bills are over $200,000. Insurance is covering some but not enough. That investor meeting today isn't about passion for restaurants. It's about Kyle desperately trying to pay for treatment by any means necessary, even if it means lying again. I'm standing outside the building right now with these hospital bills in my hand trying to decide what to do. Then I see Kyle through the window and he looks so thin, so sick. The investor is smiling, ready to give him money, and I realize if I expose Kyle right now, I might be killing him, but if I don't, he'll destroy what's left of our family, and that's when Kyle collapses. 1 second he was standing there with his hands out, probably mid-sentence about profit margins or customer demographics. The next second he crumpled like someone cut his strings. His knees buckled first. Then his whole body just folded in on itself. The investor jumped back like Kyle was contagious. I watched through the glass as Kyle hit the floor. His head bounced off the carpet. His arms didn't even try to break the fall. I was inside before I even made the decision to move. The building had one of those fancy lobbies with a security desk. I blew right past the guard who was too busy staring at his phone to notice. Took the stairs because I couldn't wait for the elevator. When I got to the conference room door, the investor was standing over Kyle with his phone out. Not calling 911. Taking a picture. Actually taking a picture of my brother unconscious on the floor. I shoved him out of the way. Didn't even say anything. Just dropped to my knees next to Kyle. His eyes were half open but not seeing anything. His skin was gray. Not pale. Gray. Like wet cement. His lips had this bluish tint that made my stomach drop. I put my hand on his chest. He was breathing but barely. Each breath was shallow and rattling like there was something loose inside him. The investor finally put his phone away. Called an ambulance, I think. I wasn't really listening. I was too busy trying to figure out if I should move Kyle or leave him where he was. They teach you stuff like this in health class, but when it's actually happening, everything goes blank. All I could think about was how small Kyle looked. He's 2 years older than me. Taller by 4 inches. But lying there on that conference room floor, he looked like a child. The ambulance took 11 minutes. I know because I watched the clock on the wall. Every second felt like an hour. Kyle came to once during that time. His eyes focused on my face for maybe 3 seconds. "Tess," he whispered. "I'm here. Don't tell Mom." Then he was out again. The paramedics asked me questions I couldn't answer. What medications was he on? Did he have any allergies? When did he last eat? I just kept saying I don't know over and over until one of them put a hand on my shoulder and told me to wait in the lobby. I called Mom from the hospital waiting room. Told her. Kyle collapsed. Told her to come quick. Didn't tell her about the cancer. Figured that was Kyle's secret to share. Mom got there in 20 minutes. She must have broken every speed limit between her house and the hospital. Her hair was still wet from the shower and she was wearing 2 different shoes. "What happened?" she kept asking. "What happened to my boy?" I didn't have answers. We sat in those plastic chairs for 3 hours waiting for a doctor to tell us something. Mom held my hand so tight I lost feeling in my fingers. Every time someone in scrubs walked by, she would sit up straight and stare at them until they passed. Finally, a doctor came out. Middle-aged woman with tired eyes and a clipboard. "Are you Kyle Brennan's family?" Mom practically launched out of her chair. "Yes, I'm his mother." "What's wrong with him?" The doctor looked at me, then at Mom. She hesitated for just a second. That hesitation told me everything. "Mrs. Brennan, your son has stage 3 Hodgkin's lymphoma. He's been receiving chemotherapy treatments for the past 4 months. Today's episode was caused by severe dehydration and exhaustion. His body is fighting the treatment and the disease at the same time." Mom's hand went slack in mine. She swayed a little like she might fall. "Cancer," she said. "My Kyle has cancer." The doctor nodded. "He's stable now. Resting. You can see him in about an hour when we get him moved to a room." Mom started crying. Not the quiet crying she did at Dad's funeral. This was full-body sobbing. Her shoulders shook. Her whole face crumpled. I put my arm around her, but I felt numb, like I was watching this happen to someone else. "How long?" Mom managed to ask between sobs. "How long has he known?" The doctor checked her clipboard. "He was diagnosed in early December. He's been seeing our oncology team since then." December. Kyle had known for almost 5 months. Through Christmas, through New Year's, through Mom's birthday in February. Through all those family dinners where he showed up looking tired and claiming he was just stressed about the restaurant, he never said a word. Mom and I sat with Kyle for 6 hours that first night. He was hooked up to machines and IV bags. A heart monitor beeped steadily in the corner. The room smelled like antiseptic and something else. Something sour. Kyle looked even worse in the hospital bed. The fluorescent lights made his skin look almost green. I could see every bone in his face. His cheekbones stuck out like they were trying to escape. His eyes had dark circles so deep they looked like bruises. Mom held his hand and talked to him even though he was asleep. She told him about the garden she was planting, about the neighbor's new dog, about anything except what was actually happening. I sat in the corner and watched. Same spot I was in when Kyle asked Dad for the money. Same feeling of being outside everything. Observing but not participating. Around midnight, Kyle woke up. He saw Mom first, and his face did this complicated thing. Part relief, part guilt, part something I couldn't name. "Mom," he said. His voice was like sandpaper. She burst into tears again, kissed his forehead, stroked his hair, asked him why he didn't tell her. "I didn't want you to worry," Kyle said. "After Dad, I couldn't put you through that again." Mom told him he was stupid, that she was his mother, that she had a right to know. Kyle just lay there and took it. He didn't argue, didn't make excuses. Then he looked at me. "I know you found the bills," he said. I nodded. "And you came to stop me from getting the money." I didn't say anything. What was there to say? He was right. Kyle closed his eyes. "I don't blame you, Tess. I lied about the restaurant. I know that. I've been lying about a lot of things." Mom looked between us. Her face was confused. "What lies? What are you talking about?" Kyle took a breath. Then he told her everything. About how the restaurant was never going to be called Joe's Place. About how he used Dad's money to fund his own vision. About the investors and the concept change and the complete abandonment of any tribute to our father. Mom's face went through about 15 emotions in 30 seconds. Shock, denial, anger, betrayal, then finally, something that looked like exhaustion. "Why?" she asked. "Why would you do that to your father? He was dying, Kyle. He gave you that money because he believed you." Kyle's jaw tightened. "Because I knew it wouldn't work, Mom. Dad's meatball recipe was good, but it wasn't enough to build a restaurant around. I needed something that could actually succeed. Something that would make real money." "And how did that work out for you?" I said. Kyle looked at me. His eyes were wet. "It didn't. By lying to a dying man? By taking a chance." Kyle's voice cracked. "You think I don't know what I did? You think I don't replay that hospital room in my head every single day? I see Dad's face every time I close my eyes. He was so happy, Tess. So proud. And I took that from him. You took that from yourself." Mom put her hand up. "Stop, both of you." She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "This isn't the time. Kyle is sick. Whatever happened with the restaurant, whatever he did or didn't do, we can deal with that later. Right now, we need to focus on getting him better." I wanted to argue. Wanted to point out that Kyle had been lying for months about the cancer too. That he'd hidden something this huge from his own family while we were still grieving Dad. But I looked at Mom's face and I couldn't do it. She'd already lost her husband. Now she was facing the possibility of losing her son. I couldn't pile more pain on top of that, so I kept my mouth shut. The next few weeks were a blur. Kyle stayed in the hospital for 5 days, while they got his fluids balanced and adjusted his treatment plan. Mom was there every single day. She brought him soup even though he could barely keep anything down. She read to him from the newspaper. She fell asleep in the chair next to his bed. I visited too. Not as often as Mom, but often enough. Kyle and I didn't talk much. There was too much hanging between us. The lies about the restaurant, the hidden cancer diagnosis, years of smaller betrayals I'd never bothered to call him out on. But something shifted during those hospital visits. I started seeing Kyle differently. Not as the golden child who could do no wrong. Not as the manipulative brother who'd stolen from our dying father, but as someone who was scared. Someone who'd made terrible choices because he didn't know how to ask for help. That didn't excuse what he'd done, but it made it more complicated. One afternoon, I was sitting in Kyle's room while Mom went to get coffee. He'd been dozing, but his eyes fluttered open and found me. "You're still mad," he said. "I'm always mad at you." "Fair." He shifted in the bed, wincing. "Can I tell you something?" "Depends on whether it's another lie." Kyle almost smiled. "It's the truth, actually. Probably the most honest thing I'll ever say." I waited. "The restaurant was never about the money," he said. "Not really. It was about proving that I could do something without Dad's help, without his approval, without him hovering over me telling me exactly how to do everything. That took me by surprise." "What do you mean?" Kyle stared at the ceiling. "You remember how Dad was with me. Nothing was ever good enough. Every report card, every baseball game, every decision I made. He always had something to say, something I could have done better." I remembered. Dad had been hard on Kyle in ways he'd never been hard on me. I always assumed it was because Kyle was the son, the one expected to carry on the family name. "When he got sick," Kyle continued, "I thought maybe things would change. Maybe he'd finally see me as an adult, someone capable of making my own choices. But even in the hospital, even dying, he still wanted to control everything. So you took his money and did the opposite of what he wanted." Kyle turned his head to look at me. "I took his money and tried to build something that was mine, something he couldn't take credit for or criticize. And yeah, I lied to get it. I told him what he needed to hear so he'd let go, so he'd stop trying to manage me from his deathbed." "That's still wrong," I said. "I know. You broke his heart. He died thinking you were going to honor him." Kyle's eyes filled with tears. "I know, and I have to live with that. But Tess, I also have to live with the fact that he never once asked me what I wanted. Not once. He just assumed I would do exactly what he said because that's what I always did. I spent my whole life being his perfect son, following his rules, working at his store, dating the girls he approved of. And where did it get me? Here. Sick? Alone? Bankrupt." Kyle wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. "Yeah, here." We sat in silence for a while. The heart monitor beeped. Footsteps passed in the hallway. "I still don't forgive you," I said finally. "I'm not asking you to. Then why tell me this?" Kyle was quiet for a moment. "Because I might not get another chance. Because if the chemo doesn't work and this thing kills me, I don't want to die with you thinking I'm just some selfish asshole who didn't care about anyone. You are a selfish asshole. I know. But I'm also your brother. And I'm scared, Tess. I'm really fucking scared." Something cracked in my chest. Not forgiveness exactly, but something close to understanding. I reached out and took Kyle's hand. His fingers were cold and thin. "You're not going to die," I said. "You don't know that. Neither do you. So shut up and focus on getting better." Kyle squeezed my hand. A weak squeeze, but there. "Thanks for coming, even though you hate me." "I don't hate you. I'm just really, really disappointed." He laughed. A small broken sound. Dad used to say the same thing. "I know. I learned it from him." Mom came back with her coffee. She saw us holding hands and her face did something complicated. She didn't say anything, but I could tell she was relieved. Whatever was broken between Kyle and me, maybe it could be fixed. Eventually. If we had enough time. That was the question, though. Did we have enough time? Kyle came home from the hospital on a Thursday. Mom insisted he stay with her so she could take care of him. Kyle argued at first. Said he didn't want to be a burden, but he was too weak to put up much of a fight. I helped move his stuff from his apartment. It wasn't much. The bankruptcy had already claimed most of his furniture. All he had left were clothes, some books, and boxes of paperwork from the failed restaurant. His apartment was in one of those newer buildings downtown, the kind with a gym and a rooftop pool that charges $3,000 a month for a one-bedroom. Kyle had been living way beyond his means. Another thing I hadn't known about, the landlord was waiting when we got there. Short guy with a clipboard and an impatient expression. "Mr. Brennan, I need the keys. Your lease was terminated 2 weeks ago." Kyle's face went red. "I know. I just need to get my things. You have 1 hour. After that, anything left behind becomes property of the building." I wanted to punch that guy. Kyle was obviously sick, obviously struggling, but the landlord just stood there with his clipboard like we were inconveniencing him. We loaded everything into my car in 45 minutes. Kyle tried to help, but he could barely lift a box without getting winded. By the end, he was sitting on the curb with his head between his knees. "I'm sorry," he said. "I used to be able to do this. You've been through a lot. Give yourself a break." Kyle looked up at me. "Since when did you become the nice one?" "I'm not being nice. I'm being practical. You're useless to me if you pass out. There it is." He almost smiled. "There's the Tess I know. We drove to Mom's house. Kyle fell asleep in the passenger seat before we got out of the parking garage. I let him sleep. He looked like he needed it. Mom had prepared Kyle's old room. New sheets, fresh flowers on the nightstand. She'd even hung up some of his childhood photos. Kyle at Little League, Kyle at graduation, Kyle and Dad at some fishing trip I barely remembered. That last one was the hardest to look at. Dad was smiling, really smiling. His arm was around Kyle's shoulders. They looked happy. I wondered if that was the last time they'd been truly happy together. Before life got complicated, before expectations and disappointments started piling up, Kyle slept for 14 hours that first night. When he finally woke up, Mom had breakfast waiting. Scrambled eggs and toast. Nothing too heavy. The chemo had destroyed his appetite. I stopped by after work to check on them. Kyle was sitting on the porch in Dad's old rocking chair. He had a blanket wrapped around his shoulders even though it was May. "You look like an old man," I said. "Feel like one too." I sat in the chair next to him. The same chair Mom used to sit in while Dad rocked, and they watched the sunset. It felt strange being there now. "The investor called," Kyle said. "The one from the meeting?" "Yeah. He wanted to know if I was okay. Also wanted to know if I was still interested in his money." "What did you tell him?" "That I needed some time to think about it." I didn't say anything. I was trying to figure out if Kyle was actually considering going through with another scheme while fighting cancer. "I'm not going to do it," Kyle said, reading my expression. "I know what you're thinking, and I'm not going to do it." "Why not?" "You need the money for treatment." "Because I'm tired, Tess. I'm tired of lying. I'm tired of pretending. I'm tired of trying to be something I'm not." "So what are you going to do?" Kyle shrugged. "Die, probably." "Don't say that." "Why not?" "It's true. The survival rate for stage 3 lymphoma isn't great. Even with treatment. Even if I do everything right. There's a good chance I won't be here in 5 years. Then fight for those 5 years. Or 10. Kyle turned to look at me. "You're the one who wanted me to fail. You said it yourself. You wanted to watch the restaurant fall apart." "I know what I said. So why do you care now?" I thought about that. Really thought about it. Why did I care? Kyle had lied to Dad. Used him. Betrayed his trust in the worst possible way. Part of me still wanted him to suffer for that. But another part, a bigger part than I wanted to admit, didn't want my brother to die. "Because you're my brother," I said finally. "And because losing you would break Mom. She already lost Dad. She can't lose you too." Kyle's eyes got shiny. "What about you? What about me? Would it break you?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. The question was too big and the answer was too complicated. Kyle nodded like my silence told him everything he needed to know. Fair enough. We sat in silence for a while. The sun was setting, orange and pink streaking across the sky. In the distance, I could hear kids playing, dogs barking, normal sounds of a normal neighborhood on a normal evening. "I sold Mom's jewelry," Kyle said suddenly. "What?" "Dad's watches too. When the restaurant started failing and I couldn't make payroll, I sold everything I could. That's how bad it got. Mom's jewelry. The pieces Dad had given her over 30 years of marriage. The anniversary necklace, the birthday earrings, the bracelet from their honeymoon in Italy. All gone. To keep Kyle's lie alive a little longer. Does Mom know? Not yet, but she will. I'm going to tell her everything, Tess. All of it. Every lie. Every bad decision. Every way I failed. Why now?" Kyle looked at the sunset. "Because I might not get another chance. And because I'm done running from who I really am." I didn't know what to say to that. So I just sat there with my brother as the sun went down and the stars came out. 2 kids, in their parents' chairs, trying to figure out how to be adults in a world that suddenly felt very small and very fragile. The next few months were hard. Kyle's treatment got more aggressive. The doctors were trying a new combination of drugs that hit him harder than anything before. He lost more weight, lost his hair, lost most of his energy. There were days when he couldn't get out of bed. Days when the nausea was so bad he couldn't even keep water down. Mom was a saint through all of it. She never complained, never showed frustration, just kept showing up. Making food Kyle couldn't eat. Doing laundry he couldn't dirty because he barely moved. Sitting by his bed, reading the same books over and over because he kept forgetting what happened. I helped when I could. Covered Mom's shifts at the house so she could run errands. Drove Kyle to appointments when Mom was too exhausted. Sat with him during chemo sessions that lasted 4 hours and left him shaking. We talked during those sessions. Really, talked. For the first time in our lives, Kyle told me about the pressure he'd always felt. The weight of being the oldest. The son. The one everyone expected to succeed. He told me about the depression he'd hidden for years. The anxiety that woke him up at 3 a.m. The constant feeling that he was one mistake away from everyone finally seeing how broken he really was. I told him about my own stuff. The resentment I'd carried since childhood. The way I'd always felt invisible next to him. The anger that built up every time Mom and Dad praised his achievements while barely noticing mine. We weren't trying to fix anything. Just understand. Just see each other clearly for maybe the first time. One day, during chemo, Kyle said something that stuck with me. "I think Dad would have forgiven me," he said. I looked up from the magazine I wasn't really reading. For the restaurant. For the lies. I think if he'd lived, he would have been angry at first. Really angry. But eventually he would have forgiven me. "Maybe," I said. "Not maybe. Definitely." You know why? Why? Because that's what Dad did. He got mad. He punished. He made you feel small. But then he forgave. Every single time. Even when you didn't deserve it. I thought about that. It was true. Dad had a temper, but he also had a big heart. He'd never held a grudge in his life. The problem is, I can't ask him for that forgiveness now, Kyle said. He died thinking I was going to honor him. He died proud of me for something I was never going to do. You could still do it. Kyle frowned. What do you mean? The restaurant. Dad's tribute. You could still do it. With what money? I'm bankrupt. My credit is destroyed. No one's going to invest in a dying man's second chance at a restaurant. Maybe not a restaurant, but something. Something that honors Dad. Something that makes his name mean something. Kyle stared at me. His eyes had that sunken look they got during treatment, but there was something else in them now. A spark that hadn't been there before. Like what? He said. I don't know, but we can figure it out. Together. Kyle was quiet for a long time. The IV dripped. The machine beeped. Nurses walked by in the hallway. Why are you helping me? He asked finally. I told you. You're my brother. That's not enough. Not after everything I did. I sighed. You want the real answer? Yes. Because Dad would want me to. Because despite everything, despite all your lies and all my anger, I know Dad would want us to take care of each other. He would hate that we've spent the last year fighting instead of grieving together. Kyle's eyes got wet. He turned away so I wouldn't see. I miss him, he said. His voice was barely a whisper. I know. Me too. I'm sorry, Tess. For all of it. The restaurant, the money, the lies about being sick, all of it. I'm so sorry. I reached over and took his hand. Same thing I'd done in the hospital months ago. This time his grip was stronger. I know you are. Does that mean you forgive me? It means I'm working on it. Give me time. Kyle nodded. Time. Yeah. Let's hope I have enough of that. The chemo session ended. A nurse came to unhook Kyle from the machines. He was shaky standing up. I put my arm around him and helped him to the car. On the drive home, Kyle fell asleep with his head against the window. He looked peaceful for once. Not scared. Not guilty. Just tired in a way that sleep might actually fix. I thought about what I'd said. About honoring Dad. About doing something together. I didn't have a plan yet, but I had the beginning of an idea. Something that might give Kyle a reason to fight. Something that might finally put Dad's memory to rest the right way. I just needed to figure out what it was. The idea came to me 3 days later. I was going through some of Dad's old stuff in Mom's garage. Boxes she hadn't touched since the funeral. Photo albums. Old tools. His vinyl collection that nobody knew what to do with. And then I found it. A notebook. Spiral bound. Pages yellowed with age. Inside were recipes. Dozens of them. Written in Dad's cramped handwriting. Most of them I'd never seen before. Variations on his famous meatballs. Different sauces he'd experimented with. Pasta dishes. Soups. Bread recipes. There was a note on the first page. Dated 15 years ago. For my kids. So, they'll always have a piece of me in their kitchen. Love, Dad. My hands were shaking as I turned the pages. Dad had spent years working on this. Creating recipes. Testing them. Writing them down so perfectly that anyone could follow them. And we'd never known. He'd never shown us. Never told us it existed. I brought the notebook to Kyle that night. He was sitting on the porch again. His new favorite spot. The rocking chair had become his throne during the long days of recovery. Look what I found, I said. Kyle took the notebook. Read the note on the first page. His face changed as he understood what he was holding. Dad made this? Years ago. Before he got sick. Before any of this. Kyle turned the pages slowly. He stopped at one recipe. Meatballs, but not the regular ones we all knew. These had additions. Fresh herbs. A special blend of cheeses. A sauce made from scratch with ingredients. Dad must have spent months perfecting. This is what he wanted, Kyle said. His voice was thick. This is what Joe's place was supposed to be. I sat down next to him. Maybe it still can be. Kyle looked at me. I already told you I can't open another restaurant. Not a restaurant. Something smaller. More personal. Like what? I've been thinking about this for days. Running numbers. Making calls. Testing the idea against reality. A food truck, I said. Dad's recipes. Mobile. Low overhead. Something we could run together. Kyle blinked. A food truck. Think about it. You don't need investors. You don't need a huge location. You just need a truck, equipment, and inventory. I have some savings. Enough for a down payment. Mom said she'd help too. Mom knows about this. We talked about it last night. She loves the idea. She said Dad would too. Kyle stared at the notebook in his hands. The recipes Dad had spent years creating. The legacy he'd wanted to leave behind. I don't know if I can do this, Kyle said. I'm sick, Tess. I'm in the middle of chemo. There are days I can barely stand up. You won't do it alone. I'll be there. Mom will help when she can. We can hire people as we grow. Start small and build. But why would you do this? After everything I did, I took a breath. Because this is how we make it right. Not by pretending the past didn't happen, but by building something real. Something honest. Something that actually honors Dad the way you promised him it would. Kyle's eyes were wet. He wiped them with the back of his hand. I don't deserve this, he said. Maybe not, but Dad deserves it. And I think you need it. A reason to fight. A reason to get better. Kyle looked at the sunset. Same view we'd been watching for months. Same sky turning orange and pink and purple. What would we call it? He asked finally. I smiled. Joe's Kitchen. Kyle laughed. A real laugh. The first one I'd heard from him in months. Joe's Kitchen, he repeated. Yeah, Dad would have liked that. We spent the next week planning, going through Dad's recipes, making lists of what we'd need, looking at used food trucks online. Kyle had good days and bad days. On the good days, he was full of ideas, menu concepts, marketing strategies, places we could park to get the most foot traffic. On the bad days, he couldn't get out of bed. The chemo was taking everything out of him. Some mornings, Mom would text me that he'd been up all night vomiting. Other mornings, he'd be so weak he couldn't hold a glass of water. I started to wonder if I'd made a mistake, if giving Kyle hope was just setting him up for another failure, another disappointment. But then I'd see him on the porch with Dad's recipe book, studying each page like it held the secrets of the universe, testing dishes in Mom's kitchen when he had the energy, making notes in the margins about what worked and what didn't. The food truck became his reason to wake up, his reason to eat even when he wasn't hungry, his reason to keep showing up to chemo appointments that left him wrecked for days. Mom noticed the change first. He's fighting now, she said one night after Kyle had gone to bed. Before he was just surviving, going through the motions. Now he actually wants to get better. I looked at her. Do you think he will? Mom was quiet for a moment, her hands wrapped around her coffee cup. The kitchen was dark except for the light over the stove. I don't know, she said finally, but I know he has a better chance now than he did a month ago. And I know your father would be proud of both of you. He'd be proud of Kyle, I said. I'm just the one who found the notebook. Mom shook her head. He'd be proud of you for giving Kyle another chance, for choosing forgiveness over anger. That's not easy, Tess, especially after what Kyle did. I haven't forgiven him. Not completely, but you're trying. That's what matters. She got up and kissed my forehead, the same way she used to when I was a kid. Get some sleep, she said. Tomorrow we're going to look at trucks. I stayed in the kitchen after she left, looking at the notes Kyle had left on the counter, menu ideas scrawled on napkins, ingredient lists organized by dish, price calculations that actually made sense. For the first time, I let myself believe that maybe this could work. Maybe Kyle could get better. Maybe we could build something together that would last. Maybe Dad's legacy didn't have to end with a failed restaurant and broken promises. Maybe it was just beginning. We found the truck 3 weeks later. It was in a lot outside the city, surrounded by other vehicles that had seen better days. Rusted RVs, dented trailers, cars up on blocks waiting for parts that would never come. The food truck was tucked in the back corner, white paint faded to gray, windows dirty, a previous owner's logo still visible under years of grime. But underneath all that neglect was something solid, good bones, an engine that still ran, a kitchen setup that would need work but had potential. The guy selling it wanted $12,000. I offered $8,000. We settled on 9 to 5. Kyle couldn't come to look at it. He was in the middle of a bad week, 2 days after his latest treatment and barely able to keep his eyes open. But I took videos of everything, the exterior, the interior, the equipment, sent them to him while Mom drove me to the lot. He called me from his bed. Buy it, he said. His voice was weak but certain. You sure? You haven't even seen it in person. I don't need to. I trust you. Those 3 words hit different. I trust you. After everything between us, after all the years of competition and resentment, Kyle trusted me. It's not pretty, I warned him. Needs a lot of work. Then we'll work on it. When I'm better. I bought the truck, had it towed to Mom's driveway where it sat like a promise waiting to be kept. The neighbors complained. Of course they did. A food truck in a residential area. There were rules about these things. Mom told them she'd move it when she was ready. Until then, they could take their complaints and shove them somewhere uncomfortable. That was a direct quote. Kyle spent his good days in the truck, working when he could, planning when he couldn't. He mapped out where everything would go, drew diagrams of the workflow, listed every piece of equipment we'd need to buy or repair. I spent my weekends scrubbing away years of grease and grime, replacing broken hinges, fixing the generator that powered the whole thing. My hands were constantly covered in scratches and burns from work I didn't really know how to do. But I learned. YouTube tutorials, forums for food truck owners, trial and error until I figured out how things worked. Mom handled the business side. Permits, licenses, health department requirements. She'd never done anything like it before, but she attacked every form and application like it owed her money. We became a team, the 3 of us working towards something together for the first time in years. Summer turned to fall. The leaves changed. The air got cooler. Kyle finished his main round of chemo. The scans came back mixed. The tumor had shrunk but not disappeared. The doctor said it was good news, but not great news. Kyle would need maintenance treatments, regular monitoring, no guarantees about what the future held. But Kyle took it as a victory. Still here, he said when he called me with the results. Still fighting. The truck isn't ready yet, I said. Then I guess I better not die before it is. That became our deadline. Finish the truck before Kyle ran out of time. We didn't say it out loud, but we both knew. The cancer could come back any day. Every moment was borrowed. We worked faster after that. Longer hours, more intense focus. Mom hired a contractor to fix the things we couldn't figure out. A friend of a friend who gave us a deal because he'd lost his own father to cancer and understood what we were trying to do. By October, the truck was almost ready. Fresh coat of paint, new equipment installed. Dad's recipes laminated and posted on the walls of our tiny kitchen. We called it Joe's Kitchen, just like we'd planned. Had a sign made with the name in the same font Dad used to use on his handwritten notes. The first time Kyle saw the finished truck, he cried. Stood in Mom's driveway with tears running down his face while neighbors pretended not to watch. "It's perfect," he said. "It's not," I told him. "The fryer still makes a weird noise and the generator smells like burning when it first starts up." "It's perfect," Kyle repeated. "And I'm going to make it work. For Dad." "For Dad," I agreed. We opened for business on a Saturday in November. Parked outside a farmer's market in the suburbs. The weather was cold but clear. Perfect for comfort food. Kyle was still weak from his treatments, but he insisted on being there. Wore 3 layers under his apron to stay warm. Sat on a stool when his legs gave out. But he cooked every single dish himself. Dad's meatballs. The recipe from the notebook. Served on fresh bread with that homemade sauce Kyle had perfected over months of testing. The first customer was a woman in her 60s. Gray hair, warm smile. She ordered 2 meatball sandwiches and a cup of the minestrone soup. She came back 20 minutes later for 2 more sandwiches. Said her husband wouldn't believe how good they were until he tasted them himself. By noon, we'd sold out of everything. Every meatball, every cup of soup, every slice of bread. Kyle was exhausted. Could barely stand by the time we closed up. But there was something in his eyes I hadn't seen in years. Pride. Real pride. The kind that comes from actually earning something instead of taking it. We made $800 that first day. After expenses, we cleared maybe $200 profit. Not much, but it was a start. We did it again the next weekend. And the weekend after that. Each time we sold out faster. Each time the lines got longer. Word spread. A food blog wrote about us. Then a local newspaper. People started showing up specifically to try Dad's meatballs. To taste the recipes from his notebook. By December, we were booking private events. Catering holiday parties. Getting calls from restaurants wanting to license Dad's recipes. Kyle said no to all of them. Joe's Kitchen was going to stay small. Personal. Family. "This isn't about making millions," he told me one night after a particularly successful event. "This is about doing something right." For once in my life, I believed him. For the first time ever, I actually believed my brother. Christmas that year was different. The first one since Dad died where we weren't just going through the motions, where there was actually something to celebrate. Mom cooked too much food like she always did. The house smelled like her famous pot roast and the apple pie she only made once a year. Kyle was strong enough to sit at the table for the whole meal. To eat a full plate for the first time in months. We talked about Dad, about the recipes, about Joe's Kitchen and what it could become. For the first time, we talked about him without crying, without anger, without guilt. Just love, pure and simple. After dinner, Kyle handed me a small box, wrapped in newspaper because he'd never been good at wrapping gifts. I opened it. Inside was a key. Old. Tarnished. Looked like it hadn't been used in years. "What is this?" I asked. "The key to the truck," Kyle said. "Dad gave it to me years ago. Said it was the key to his first store. The one he opened when he was 23. Said it brought him luck." "Kyle, I can't take this." "You're not taking it. We're sharing it. Partners. Equal partners. Whatever happens to Joe's Kitchen, whatever happens to me, this is ours. Together." I looked at the key in my hand. Such a small thing, but it meant everything. "Partners?" I said. Kyle smiled. The first real smile in months. Years, maybe. Partners. That night I sat on the porch in Dad's rocking chair, the same spot Kyle had claimed during his darkest days. Snow was falling lightly, covering the food truck in a thin layer of white. I thought about everything that had led to this moment. Dad's diagnosis, Kyle's lies, the failed restaurant, the cancer, all the anger and resentment and betrayal that had torn our family apart. And then I thought about the notebook, the recipes, the food truck parked in the driveway, the customers who kept coming back, the legacy we were building together. It wasn't perfect. None of it was perfect. Kyle was still sick. The cancer could come back anytime. There were no guarantees about the future. But for the first time in a long time, I felt something I'd forgotten was possible. Hope. Not the naive hope that everything would work out, but the realistic hope that whatever happened, we'd face it together, as a family. Dad would have liked that, more than any restaurant, more than any tribute. He would have liked knowing that his kids finally figured out how to stop fighting and start building. I stayed on the porch until the snow covered everything in white, until the world looked clean and new, until I could almost believe that second chances were real. Then I went inside, hugged my brother, told him I was proud of him. And for the first time ever, I actually meant it. End of part 1. Update 1. It's been 6 months since I first posted about Kyle and the food truck. A lot has happened, and I don't even know where to start. Joe's Kitchen took off. Like, really took off. What started as a weekend thing at farmers markets turned into something I never could have predicted. It started with a review. Some food critic from the city came to try our meatballs because his sister told him about us. He wrote a whole article about Dad's recipe. Called it the best comfort food he'd had in 20 years. Said Joe's Kitchen was proof that family traditions still mattered in a world of chain restaurants and frozen everything. The article went viral. Not internet viral, just local viral. But in our area, that was enough. Suddenly we had lines around the block. People driving 2 hours to try the meatballs their coworkers' neighbor's aunt had raved about. We went from selling out in 4 hours to selling out in 40 minutes. Kyle couldn't keep up. His treatments were still happening. Good weeks and bad weeks. Some days he'd be in the truck cooking from dawn until we ran out of food. Other days he couldn't get out of bed. I had to make a decision. Keep the truck small and turn people away. Or find a way to grow without losing what made us special. I quit my job. Yeah, my stable corporate job with benefits and a retirement plan. The job I'd had for 8 years. The one that was supposed to be my safety net while everything else fell apart. I walked into my boss's office on a Tuesday morning and handed in my 2 weeks' notice. She thought I was crazy. Maybe I was, but I looked at Kyle. Looked at the lines of customers waiting for Dad's food. Looked at Mom helping pack orders with this smile I hadn't seen since before Dad got sick. And I knew. Some opportunities only come once. You either take them or spend the rest of your life wondering what if. My last day at work was the same day Kyle got his 3-month scan results. The cancer was still shrinking. Slowly, but shrinking. The doctors upgraded his prognosis from guarded to cautiously optimistic. Not cured, not in remission, but better than anyone expected. Kyle called me from the doctor's office. His voice was shaking. "I think I'm going to live," he said. "I know you are." "No, Tess. I mean, I actually believe it now. For the first time, I believe I might survive this." I didn't know what to say. So I just said, "I love you." First time I'd said those words to my brother since we were kids. There was a long pause. Then Kyle said it back. "Love you too. Now get your ass to the truck. We've got 300 meatballs to make before Saturday." That was Kyle. Always deflecting emotion with work. But I heard what he really meant. Thank you. For everything. The next 3 months were chaos in the best way possible. We hired 2 people to help. A young guy named Devin who just graduated culinary school and a retired woman named Margie who used to run her own bakery before her husband got transferred. Training them was harder than I expected. Dad's recipes seemed simple on paper, but the execution required a feel that took weeks to develop. Kyle was patient with them in a way I'd never seen from him before. Explaining technique, demonstrating methods, letting them fail and try again. Maybe the cancer changed him. Maybe almost dying taught him that yelling at people doesn't make them better. Whatever the reason, Kyle had become someone I actually liked working with. We expanded the menu, added more of Dad's dishes from the notebook. A chicken parmesan that made people close their eyes when they tasted it. A lasagna with 4 kinds of cheese that we could only make in limited batches because the prep took forever. Mom started coming to events regularly. Not to cook. Her hip couldn't handle standing that long. But she'd sit in a folding chair near the truck and talk to customers. Tell them stories about Dad. About how he developed the recipes. About the family dinners where we'd test his experiments. Customers loved her. They'd wait in line just to hear her stories. Some of them started calling her Mama Joe, even though her name was Linda. The money was good. Better than good. By month 4, we were clearing $5,000 a week after expenses. More than I made at my corporate job. But it wasn't about the money. Not really. It was about what we were building. A legacy. Something Dad could have looked at and felt proud of. One night, after a particularly long event, Kyle and I sat in the back of the truck counting money. Our hands were covered in flour and grease. The air smelled like garlic and tomato sauce. "We actually did it," Kyle said. "We're not done yet." "I know, but we did this part. The part Dad wanted. The part I promised him." I looked at my brother. He was still thin. Still bald from the chemo. But there was color in his cheeks that hadn't been there 6 months ago. Life in his eyes. "You know I'm still mad at you," I said. Kyle raised an eyebrow. "For what?" "For everything. The lies about the restaurant. Hiding the cancer. All of it. I thought we were past that. We're past fighting about it. We're not past me being mad." Kyle was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. "Fair enough. You have every right to be." "I know I do. So why are you telling me now?" "Because I realized something tonight. I'm mad at you and I love you. Both things can be true at the same time." Kyle looked at me. Really looked. Like he was seeing me for the first time. "I don't deserve you," he said. "Probably not." He laughed. "There she is. The sister I know." I punched his arm lightly. "Don't push it." We finished counting the money. $7,243. Our best night ever. Kyle tucked the cash into the lockbox we kept under the driver's seat. Then he pulled out a piece of paper from his pocket. "I've been thinking," he said. "That's dangerous. Shut up and listen. What if we did more than the truck?" "More how?" Kyle unfolded the paper. It was a printout of a real estate listing. A small storefront downtown. Red brick building. Big windows. For lease sign in the front. "A restaurant," Kyle said. "Not like Ember Lounge. Nothing fancy. Just somewhere people could sit down and eat Dad's food without standing in line for an hour." I stared at the listing. My stomach did something complicated. "Kyle, we can't afford this." "Not yet. But if we keep growing at this rate, we could in a year. Maybe less. You said you were done with restaurants. You said you'd never do that again." Kyle shrugged. "I said a lot of things. I also said I was going to honor Dad, and then opened a cocktail bar. Maybe I'm not great at keeping my own promises. Then why would this be different? Because you'd be there. Not investors. Not business partners. You. Someone who'll call me out when I'm being stupid. Someone who'll make sure I don't lose sight of what matters." I looked at the listing again. The building was charming. Good location. Reasonable price. But all I could think about was Ember Lounge. The betrayal. The lies. Dad dying thinking Kyle would create something beautiful only to have it turn into everything Dad would have hated. "I can't go through that again," I said. "I won't," Kyle put the paper down. I know. That's why I'm not asking you to decide right now. I'm asking you to think about it. Take as long as you need. If you say no, we keep doing the truck. No hard feelings. Just think about it. That's all I'm asking. I took the paper, folded it up, put it in my pocket. I'll think about it. That's all I wanted. We closed up the truck and drove home. Kyle fell asleep in the passenger seat like he always did, his head against the window, breath fogging the glass. I thought about the restaurant, about what it could mean, about the risk of trusting Kyle with something that big again. And I thought about Dad, about how he'd built his business from nothing, how he'd taken chances when everyone told him he was crazy. Maybe crazy wasn't always bad. Maybe sometimes crazy was the only way to build something that mattered. I didn't have an answer yet, but I was thinking about it. That was more than Kyle could have asked for 6 months ago. The restaurant conversation hung between us for 3 weeks. We didn't talk about it directly, but it was there. In the background of every conversation. Kyle didn't push, didn't mention the listing again, just focused on the truck, the customers, the food, but I saw him looking at that printout when he thought no one was watching, studying the photos of the space, running numbers on napkins. I did my own research, quietly. At night when I couldn't sleep, the building had history. Used to be a bakery in the 1,950 seconds, then a hardware store, then empty for almost a decade before getting converted to retail. The owner was willing to negotiate. The previous tenant had bailed on the lease and left owing 3 months' rent. She was motivated to find someone stable. I called her one afternoon, just to ask questions, get information. Her name was Dolores, 72 years old, had owned the building since she inherited it from her father. She asked about our business. I told her about Joe's kitchen, about Dad, about the food truck and the recipes and what we were trying to build. She was quiet for a long moment after I finished. Your father sounds like my father, she said. Built something from nothing, passed it down to his kids. He tried to. More than tried. You're keeping his memory alive. That's more than most people do. We talked for another hour. About business, about family, about what it means to carry on something your parents started. By the end of the call, I'd agreed to see the space in person. I didn't tell Kyle. The building was better than the pictures. Exposed brick walls. Original hardwood floors that needed refinishing, but were solid underneath the scratches. A kitchen in the back that would need updating but had good bones. Dolores walked me through every room, pointed out the original moldings. The tin ceiling tiles someone had painted over but could be restored. The big front windows that let in afternoon light. I could see it. Not Ember Lounge. Not some trendy concept designed to impress investors. Joe's kitchen. The real version. Tables where families could sit. A counter where regulars could chat with whoever was cooking. Photos of Dad on the walls surrounded by his recipes framed like the art they were. How much? I asked. Dolores smiled. Let's talk. We negotiated for an hour. Back and forth. Numbers and terms and conditions. She could have gotten more from someone else. A chain restaurant. A franchise. Someone with corporate backing and guaranteed payments. But she said she liked what we were doing. Said she wanted the building to mean something. Not just be another place selling the same food you could get anywhere. We settled on a price I could actually afford. 3-year lease with option to renew. Dolores would handle some of the repairs in exchange for a slightly higher rent. I signed the papers that afternoon. Didn't think, didn't hesitate. Just put my name on the line and hoped I wasn't making the biggest mistake of my life. Kyle was at Mom's house when I got home, sitting on the porch in Dad's chair, looking tired from his treatment that morning but better than he'd been in weeks. I sat down next to him. Didn't say anything at first. You okay? He asked. I pulled the lease out of my bag, handed it to him. Kyle looked at it. Read the first page. Looked at me. Read the second page. Looked at me again. Tess. Is this? I signed the lease. We're getting a restaurant. Kyle stared at me. His mouth opened but no words came out. It's a good space, I continued. Downtown. Reasonable rent. The owner is great. I think Dad would have loved it. Kyle still wasn't speaking. His eyes were wet. Say something, I said. He grabbed me, pulled me into a hug so tight I could barely breathe. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Don't thank me yet. We have a lot of work to do. I don't care. Thank you. For believing in me. For giving me another chance. I hugged him back, felt his ribs through his shirt. He was still too thin, but getting stronger every day. Don't make me regret this, I said. I won't. I promised Tess. I won't. Mom came out to see what the commotion was about. We told her together. Showed her the lease. She cried. Happy tears for once. Joe would be so proud, she kept saying. So proud of both of you. I hope so, I said. I know so. She hugged us both, her 2 kids who'd spent years fighting and resenting each other, finally working together on something that mattered. It felt right. For the first time in my life, something felt completely right. The next few months were the hardest and best of my life. We renovated the restaurant ourselves. Me, Kyle, Devin, Margie, Mom when her hip allowed, and a rotating crew of friends and neighbors who showed up to help. We stripped the floors down to the original wood, refinished them until they glowed, removed decades of paint from the tin ceiling, fixed the plumbing, updated the electrical, built booths by hand because custom furniture was too expensive. Kyle designed the kitchen layout, drew it up himself based on years of thinking about how a restaurant should flow. Every station had a purpose. Every tool had a place. Nothing wasted, nothing excessive. We hung photos of Dad everywhere. At his store, at our family dinners, in the kitchen with his famous apron that had more stains than fabric. One photo showed him teaching a young Kyle how to roll meatballs, their hands covered in meat and breadcrumbs, both of them smiling. I found a company that could print his recipes on large canvas. We hung them on the main wall like a gallery. His handwriting, his words, his gift to the family preserved forever. The menu was simple. The dishes from his notebook, plus a few things Kyle and I had developed together. Nothing fancy, nothing pretentious, just good food made with love and served without attitude. We called it Joe's Kitchen, same as the truck. Some people said we should come up with something more creative, something that would stand out. But we weren't trying to stand out. We were trying to honor a man who never needed to be the center of attention, who just wanted to feed people good food and watch them enjoy it. Opening night was terrifying. I barely slept the night before, kept waking up with new things to worry about. What if no one came? What if too many people came? What if the food wasn't good enough? What if we failed like Ember Lounge? Kyle found me in the restaurant at 4 a.m., sitting at the counter, staring at nothing. Can't sleep either, he said. How'd you know I was here? Because I was coming here too. He sat down next to me. We looked at the space we'd built together. The tables set for the first time, the glasses polished, the menus printed, and waiting. What if this doesn't work? I asked. Then we tried. That's more than most people do. That's not very comforting. Kyle shrugged. It's realistic. Not everything works out, Tess. But I've learned that failing at something real is better than succeeding at something fake. I thought about Ember Lounge. The fancy cocktails, the tiny portions, the complete absence of anything that resembled Joe Brennan. This is real, I said. Yeah, it is. We sat in silence until the sun came up. Then we started prepping for the day that would change everything. The doors opened at 5 p.m. Within an hour, every table was full. People came from everywhere. Customers from the food truck who'd been waiting for a place to sit. Friends of friends who'd heard about the recipes. Complete strangers who saw the reviews online and decided to take a chance. Kyle worked the kitchen with Devin. They moved like dancers. Every plate perfect, every timing spot on. I worked the front, seating people, taking orders, telling the story of Dad's recipes to anyone who asked. Mom sat at a table near the kitchen. Her table, reserved for her every night we were open. Customers stopped by to chat, to hear her stories, to feel connected to something bigger than just a meal. The night was chaos. Beautiful, exhausting, perfect chaos. We served 127 people, made $1,500, ran out of meatballs twice and had to make emergency batches in the middle of service. By the time we closed, I could barely stand. My feet were destroyed. My voice was shot from talking all night, but I was smiling. We all were. We did it, Kyle said. His face was flushed. His eyes were bright. We did. He pulled me into a hug, right there in the middle of the dining room we'd built together. I couldn't have done this without you, he said. I know, he laughed. Not the bitter laugh I'd heard from him for years. A real laugh, full of joy. I love you, Tess. Love you too, you disaster of a human being. He laughed again. Fair enough. Mom joined us. The three of us standing in the restaurant Dad would never see, surrounded by his recipes, his photos, his legacy. I wished he could be there. Wished he could see what Kyle had finally become, what we'd built together. But maybe he could see. Maybe somewhere Dad was watching, smiling, proud. I chose to believe that. It was the only thing that made sense. The restaurant was a success. That became clear within the first month. Reviews were glowing. Word of mouth spread faster than any advertising could. We had a waiting list for reservations that stretched 3 weeks out. Kyle got stronger every month. His scans kept improving. By the 1-year anniversary of his diagnosis, the cancer was barely detectable. His doctors used words like remarkable and unprecedented. He credited the restaurant. Said having something to live for made his body fight harder. I don't know if that's medically accurate, but I know Kyle was different now. More alive, more present. We hired more staff, trained them on Dad's recipes, built a team that felt like family. Mom became a fixture. Her table was always full. Customers who'd become regulars would stop by to chat, bring her flowers, share stories about their own fathers and mothers and the recipes they wished they'd saved. On the 1-year anniversary of opening night, we hung a new photo on the wall, Kyle and me standing in front of the restaurant, our arms around each other, smiling. Underneath it, I wrote a plaque, for Joe Brennan, who taught us that food is love, and that family is worth fighting for. Kyle cried when he saw it. Ugly crying. The kind where snot runs down your face and you can't breathe. I pretended not to notice. Let him have the moment. We'd come so far. From the hospital room where Kyle asked Dad for money, through the lies and the failed restaurant and the cancer and the betrayal. All of it led here, to a small restaurant downtown, to lines around the block, to a family that finally learned how to be a family. I forgave Kyle that night. Not in words. Words weren't big enough. I forgave him by standing next to him in the restaurant we built, by watching him cook the recipes he'd once abandoned, by seeing the man he'd become instead of the man he used to be. People ask me sometimes if I regret waiting to expose Kyle, if I should have told Mom about the restaurant lies earlier, if I should have stopped him from getting the investor money. I don't have a good answer. Maybe if I'd said something, Dad would have died angry instead of hopeful. Maybe Kyle would have given up without the chance to fail on his own terms. Or maybe nothing would have been different. Maybe some lessons can only be learned the hard way. What I know is this. My brother lied to our dying father, used his money for his own dreams, broke a promise that should have been sacred, and then he got cancer, and then he almost died, and then he found a way to make it right. Not perfectly, not completely, but enough. Dad's recipes are on the menu. Dad's name is on the door. Dad's legacy lives on in every plate of meatballs we serve. That's the best ending I could have hoped for. Not the one I expected, but the one that was always meant to be. Sometimes the people who hurt you the most are the ones who need you the most. Sometimes forgiveness isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about deciding what happens next. Kyle and I still argue, still drive each other crazy, still have days when I want to lock him in the walk-in freezer and lose the key. But we're family, real family, the kind that shows up even when it's hard. Dad taught us that, even in death, maybe especially in death, Joe's Kitchen is his gift to us. And we're going to spend the rest of our lives being worthy of it.